Hi everyone, I'm Ama Sekebani, and this is another episode of Ama Discussions. Today I wanted to speak about why some other African artists sound better when they're hungry, and why it's unfair for us as consumers of this art to expect them to sound the same after receiving some sort of acclaim or success. And this is not me justifying them becoming bad musicians or disrespectful celebrities once they get one, two Louis Vuitton bags or one, two houses in East Legon or Lekki or Santon. That's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that just because they receive success, then we should allow them to be complacent and we shouldn't hold them accountable. But I am saying that obviously the level of desperation that they exhibited when they were starting off is definitely not going to be the same after, success, after receiving money, after receiving a cushion, right? One thing we need to remember about the African continent is that people are actually chasing dreams, not just for bands, not for nothing, but because people are scared of poverty, because poverty is an impending anxiety or fear on the African continent. The African continent is impoverished. That's the first thing that we need to tackle. Because a lot of people will be like, well, we have resources, we have diamonds, we do we own the mines? And it's not just about South Africa. Because when I was in Ghana, I was trying to buy gold. I couldn't find a Ghanaian seller. Everyone I was buying from, now I didn't even end up buying, but everyone I was trying to buy from, every contact I got was definitely not even African, right? Even when you're looking at, okay, who used to own the bauxite mines or who owns certain farms in other African countries, it's not just a phenomenon that happens in South Africa. Of course, in South Africa, it's more explicit, right? But on the African continent, even though we have our resources in our land, we don't even own the mines that take out those resources. So as we speak, Africa is impoverished and we are proxy to other people's endeavors for success on our continent. That is what it is, right? And so, with people being victims of poverty and people experiencing real hunger, people are going to find creative ways out of those situations, whether they are lungo boys or me or like right? Or trying to make it out of the fire so right? People say Soweto is not poor. I'm speaking about Soweto infrastructurally. I mean, in terms of systemically. I'm speaking about Soweto in terms of the resources. Soweto is an under resourced area and it was designed that way. It is not the fault of the people that live there, it is the fault of the government not trying to make amends for that egregious urban design that we call Soweto. That is a crime against humanity, actually. Now, every time I think about Soweto, I'm from Soweto, by the way. And I'm not speaking down on Soweto because I'm knocking on Sotra. You guys know I'm proud of being from Sotra. I am. I'm Search. Shawela kid, Piri kid, the Fire kid, Dumbola Houses White City, Mzimhlope kid. Embarrassing Soweto. In fact, I didn't know that Mzimhlope and White City were two different places until like 2 years ago. Because every time I went to White City, I always went to White City and Mzimhlope, but I just never registered oh, when I'm in White City, I'm not in Mzimhlope. Because I remember one of my friends being like, oh yeah, I'm going to Mzimhlope soon. I was like, oh, you're going to when you get to White City, Kupang Rekele Kot. She said, I'm going to Mzimhlope. And I was like, is that not White City? anyway, anyway, um, so when you're hungry to get out of those situations, when you're hungry to really get out of these areas that were built to be stifling for creativity, you're going to be creative in the way that you crawl your way out. I think that's why Sowetan are so creative. That's why people from Mamelodi and Sosha and all these places could create a genre like Ipiano, right? That's why Afrobeats, as we know it right now, could be headed by people from hoods or poor areas in Lagos, right? Or even in Benin City, or I'm trying to be inclusive to also other cities like other hoods in Abuja. In Abuja, ah, but I only know about the Lagos places, right? Other people are just trying to buy a house in Santon, trying to buy a house in VR, trying to buy a house in Encantement in East Legon. So you'll hear that desperation in the way that they sing. But now that you've not only bought a house in East Legon or in Encantement or in Lekki or in VI or in Santon or in Mudaiga or in Karen, Now you can buy houses in London, and not just London, in Mayfair, in Belgravia. You know, you can have a little apartment in Hyde Park, South Africa, and Hyde Park, London. You really think that you're going to exhibit the same level of desperation that you had before? No, that's not what's going to happen. You're going to become comfortable. You're going to go to the studio, sing your little, but you're not hungry anymore. And uzotata, even in the way that you perform, I've been to many artists' performance first when they were really coming out, and also now that they've become mainstream worldwide stars. You can see gore yeah, ona sa kgotsa ha sa lapa. Ha lapa anymore. This person's full. This person's been eating wagyu. But when you first saw them, Nabaja Borotobo Brown Lim and Komazi, so you could see the energy or like, where I need to get out of Borotobo Brown Lim Komazi. By the way, I love Borotobo Brown Lim Komazi. Not saying anything about it. I'm just saying, other people can know that, like, being a poverty food. But I love it. I eat it till this day. Till this day. And so obviously they're gonna change. They're not gonna be as again desperate to prove themselves because they feel like they've already proven themselves. They have the growth, they have the everything that they want. But right. And I think the artists that still push themselves to be creative and to find a way to use their money to foster their creativity. I think those artists are very admirable because there's artists that, they come out of the hood and really they've made it, but they're still pushing the envelope. That's the whole point. Now that you have money, use those resources to continue to push the envelope, right? Now, if you have the money, you're not even pushing the envelope and you're not singing or performing at the level that you were performing when you began. Like, what are we doing for real, right? I feel like even when you receive that success, even if you're not as energetic, still be pushing the envelope. Still respect your fans. Still show up because people have shown up for you since the beginning, right? Anyway, just going back to the point of hunger, and not all artists are hungry in the same way, right? Some artists, yes, they come from poor areas. Other people are just hungry to prove themselves to their parents, or hungry to not be forced to take a certain university course because their parents are like, if this doesn't work out in the next 2 years, then you're going to have to study law, computer science, or medicine, right? So people are trying to make sure that they're not going to be indentured in that way. So they have no choice but to make sure that this creative endeavor, even though it's not on the line of actually starving, like works because it's starvation not by way of food, but oh, if I don't do this, I'm gonna starve creatively. I'm gonna starve um my passions and my mind, everything that gave me that spark. Do you get what I'm saying?